Good morning, everybody. Director General of the Cyber Research of Tel Aviv University, Major General Professor Yitzhak Ben Israel, Director General of the Israel National Cyber Directorate, Brigadier General Gabi Portnoy, leaders and officials in the cyber field from Israel and around the world. Before I start, I want to say a few words in Hebrew regarding the video Hamas published yesterday. אתמול פורסם סרטון שמטרתו סחטנות על גבה של סוגיה הומניטרית. חמאס מחזיק בשבי במשך שנים את ארבעת הבנים בניגוד לחוק הבינלאומי, בניגוד למוסר. חמאס אחראית לכך, והציפייה שלנו מהקהילה הבינלאומית היא לפעול מול ההתנהלות הנפשעת הזו של חמאס. מדינת ישראל פועלת במגוון אמצעים, וממשיכה להפוך כל אבן על מנת להשיב את הבנים הביתה. כפי שאמרנו בעבר, מדובר בסוגיה הומניטרית, כך אנחנו רואים אותה, ועל הבסיס הזה נמשיך לפעול. ניסיונות סחטנות ותרגילי תודעה לא ישפיעו על התנהלותנו. ולגופו של עניין, to the subject itself. Good morning, everyone. At first, men fought wars with stones. Then, he fought by spear and swords, and this was followed by the invention of explosive and firearms. Over time, the weapons of war were refined to the advanced levels of combat aircraft, submarines, UAVs, and such things. Humanity has seen thousands of years of war, wars that take place even today. Yet, the battlefield of the present is not like the one of the past, nor will future conflict will look like those of today. The cyber domain adds a new dimension. Way before a missile is fired or a combat boot steps over a physical border, cyber enables damage to vital infrastructure, spreading panic and piercing the hearts of regime. In 2014, for the first time ever, Russia launched a military operation in Crimea with a widespread cyber attack. Today, cyber attacks makes up a significant part of the ongoing war between Russia and Ukraine. This dramatic change on the battlefield requires us to adopt. Cyber attackers know how to exploit vulnerabilities. They know how to attack individuals, companies, and organizations, as well as state infrastructure. A decade ago, Israel dealt with several significant cyber attacks. Today, we face over 1,000 attacks per year. In recent years, we have stopped many attempts to break into private and public companies, as well as Israeli companies based around the world. Today, every company, every individual must take responsibility in protecting its customers, its own assets, and the security of the State of Israel. On this note, I would like to take this opportunity and this platform to call on all companies and organizations to follow the guidelines published by the National Cyber Directorate. I also call on the Israeli public to demand cybernetic responsibility and to expect companies and entities to act in accordance with the said guidelines. The leaders of global conventional terrorism is Iran. This is also true for the cyber terrorism. Iran threatened to damage global infrastructure. It aims to spread fear, and it even attempts to influence democratic processes and governments. This was the case when Iran attempted to influence the United States presidential elections, and this was also true in many additional cases that Israel is aware of. Most recently, we have seen reports that Iranian terror group led by the Revolutionary Guards have tried to carry out operations against international targets, including charities and government networks in the United States. Following investigation published on this subject, we can confirm that the Shahid Kaveh unit operated by the IRGC, which is revealed about a year ago, conducted research to damage ships, gas stations, and industrial plants in several Western countries, including Britain, the United States, France, and Israel. This activity was carried out under the direct instructions of Iran's leadership. This attempt was foiled. Iran operates via proxies such as Hezbollah in all dimensions, including cyber. Today, I can reveal recent malign activities by Iranian security institutions in cooperation with Hezbollah, an attempt to disrupt UNIFIL operations in Lebanon. They launched a cyber operation with the aim of stealing materials about UNIFIL activities and deployment in the area for Hezbollah's use. This is yet another direct attack by Iran and Hezbollah on Lebanon's citizens and on Lebanon's stability. Government and democracies are tasked not only with defense, but also with deterrence. We must charge heavy price from those who attempt to harm us, and this is how Israel operates. The cyber dimension is boundless, but it is not without traces. Israel faces repeated attempted attacks, mainly by Iran, which challenges us in the cyber domain just as it does in the air, in the sea, or on land. It is important to emphasize that Israel knows the cyber systems and operations method of its opponent. With this context, in recent years we have identified the phenomenon of Iranian hacker groups operating against Israel and other countries in the region and in the world. These new proxies are terrorists with keyboards, yet they are just like any other terrorists. We know who they are, we target them and those who direct them. They are in our sights even as we speak, and not just in the cyberspace. Not a single attack on Israel's citizens will go by silently. The responsibility for such attacks lies in the countries and terror groups that fund and guide them. There is a variety of possible responses to cyber attacks in and outside the cyber domain. And before I conclude, I would like to address three aspects of our operation. The first is investing in our people, those who ensure our operational success. Our top mission in the defense establishment is to foster this community, to train our personnel, and to keep them with us. The IDF Chief of the General Staff and I have set this issue as one of our main priorities in the relevant units. We are constantly assessing force buildup in terms of human resources, training, and missions. And in the coming years, we will also need to examine the organizational management and operation of the cyber domain. We are also working to create service options that will enable more and more individuals to keep their roles. The IDF, Mossad, and Shabak, and all the security institutions in Israel will never be able to compete with the money offered by private companies. But the private companies will never compete with the professional challenges and the sense of mission that we provide within the defense establishment. The second aspect is our technological superiority. Israel must maintain and develop its cyber capabilities. It is essential for our security and our qualitative, technological, and military edge in the region. I deal with this personally, and the State of Israel must continue to hold these capabilities, which are also of great values to our partners. And this brings me to the third aspect, our collaboration with partners in the area and around the world. I cannot stress enough, Iran is first a global challenge, then it is a regional challenge, and only finally it is a threat to the State of Israel. The same goes for the cyber dimension. We work closely with our partners, and the same cooperation framework that we are building in the region vis-à-vis Iran is also expanding to the cyber dimension. Together, we can prevent significant harms to the citizens of the region and the world. Distinguished guests, cyber will become increasingly central to Israel's security. I have one request to the academics, industry members, and experts from around the world. Keep researching, keep feeding new creative generations, and most important, keep raising the issue of ethics and the importance of protecting human rights, even in the face of the invisible. Thank you very much.